Hi everyone! I'm getting ready to upload a bunch of Premiere A flutes to the website, and I wanted to give you a little demo of each one. You might notice that I sound a little congested. I just got over a chest cold, so forgive me if I clear my throat a few times. I'm not contagious anymore, but everything gets sanitized before we mail it, so don't worry about that. I'm going to leave links to all of these flutes down in the description, so if you see one that you like, you can click through and buy it. Okay, let's get started. So I have two of most of the woods that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to give you a little comparison of both of the flutes that are made from the same wood, so you can kind of see the differences. Let's start with these. These are made out of Spanish cedar. One of them is really figured, so I'll show you that one first. You see the wavy grain pattern here. It's not quite as figured as a wood like curly maple is, but it catches the light and has all these waves in it. Spanish cedar is a really beautiful soft wood. It looks a little bit like mahogany, but it's more of a bright orange color. But it has a really similar grain pattern to mahogany, and I think it is actually in the mahogany family. Focus, camera, focus. Good. It's not focusing. It's focusing on my face. There we go. All those little flecks remind me a lot of mahogany wood. It also has a beautiful smell to it. You can smell this wood through the varnish. I think it's lovely, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. If you're really sensitive to smells, this might not be a good choice for you. So the other one that I have in Spanish cedar does not have the same wavy grain, but it does have a really cool area down here. Oh, see that? It's just this one section on it, but it's so pretty. All those waves. So let me play both of those for you. Oh, that's me squeaking, not the flute. Yeah, both of those are really lovely. I'm not sure I have one that I like more. They both have different qualities to the voice. I feel the second one that I played has a little bit more of a mellow voice than the first one. They both have a lot of the characteristics of a softwood flute though, with that kind of slightly smokier, slightly more mellow voice, a little bit more meditative. And I really like that, especially for the key of A, which can be a very loud key sometimes. So I think that's kind of nice to have a little bit of a mellower sound. So next I have two flutes in Redwood. And this is the Redwood that we have that was salvaged from a 100-year-old bridge. Redwood is a protected wood, so normally you can't just buy it from a wood store. You have to get it in a special way, like it has to be sustainably harvested, which is really great. And this was actually, wasn't a tree that was recently cut down, and it was probably a very old tree that this bridge was made out of. The wood itself is so much denser than I'm used to redwood being. It actually feels pretty durable. Okay, so let me show you both of these flutes. This one that I'm going to show you first, it has a slightly unusual shape. Like, it's not perfectly round. And I don't know that you can even, I don't think you can see it really. You can, and you can slightly tell in person, but it's not really that noticeable. You can feel it when you're holding it, that it's like a little oval. The reason for that is that because redwood, just because of the characteristics of redwood, sometimes areas of it will sand away faster than other areas when we're turning it on the lathe or when we're hand sanding it. And so that's what happened with this flute. There was just a part of the grain that was harder and resisted the sanding a little bit more. This doesn't affect the playability of the flute at all, and it honestly isn't even visible, but you can feel it, and some people might wonder why it's that way. This one has a really clear voice. And this one is a little bit, I think this is a little thicker. The walls are just a little bit thicker on this one, so it's a little heavier weight. It's still a very lightweight flute. Let's see. It does have a kind of a dark blue line. This happens on redwood sometimes. I don't know if you can even see it, but the reason that that happens, I believe, is that some woods are very tannic, and the tannins react with the glue and sometimes will cause the glue line to show a lot more. It's not a structural issue at all, but some people look at it and think like, oh, there's a crack, but that's just the seam. So let me play this one for you. I think this one is a little bit more mellow than the other one I played. Both of them have very clear voices for being a softwood though. You have two Douglas fir flutes. This is Washington native Douglas fir. And that's where we're located if you don't know that already. This has such a pretty pattern in it. You can see that kind of chevron pattern that runs up the body of the flute. And just a nice bold orange grain pattern. Douglas fir is technically a softwood, but because it has needles and not leaves, but it is a very dense and hard softwood. So I think that it's much more like a hardwood. It has more of the characteristics of a hardwood flute. Hardwoods have a tendency to be louder and more clear, and softwoods have a tendency to be a little softer, and a lot of times they'll have a more resonant quality to them. So it has a very clear voice. This one also has a beautiful grain pattern. I think that the grain pattern always is kind of muted looking in both the photos and the video, but in person this is like a pretty bright orange color, and it's got a very clear grain pattern. This one is a little more clear. They both have really clear, nice voices though. I have two Eastern Cedar. This is Eastern Aromatic Cedar. It does have a subtle smell. I would say that these don't, even though the raw wood would have a very pungent smell, these don't really have as noticeable of a smell as the Spanish cedar has. The Spanish cedar to me really smells, you can really smell that through the varnish. On these you get a little subtle cedar smell, but it's not quite as strong. So Eastern Cedar has this beautiful dark pink color. It looks almost like a tropical wood to me, but it's not. So this one has slightly less character in the grain, but it still has this like subtle yellow striping in it. But it is this one is a fairly uniform color. You can see a nice big yellow stripe here. So beautiful. And this is a softwood. It is a very like dense, tight grain softwood, but it is still a little more delicate than other woods, and it will dent easier than a hardwood flute would. That one truly has that characteristic of a softwood where it has just a little more softness to the voice, a little more mellow. This one is a little bit more purple in color, a little bit more colorful than the other. And it has these really beautiful blushes of yellow in a few different areas, like right on the front there. And just a subtle, like almost purpley color to it. It's really, really pretty. This one's pretty similar in voice to the other one. I don't know that I can tell a real discernible difference between the two. And last but not least, this is a beautiful, I just have one of these. This is Oregon ash. This piece of Oregon ash is so white that it actually looks more like a typical piece of white ash. It really is catching the light there. It's almost glaring in the light. In person, it's a very light, creamy color, almost like a little bit of a yellow color. And it just has that stunning, bold grain pattern. This is a very hard wood. They make baseball bats out of this. Well, not out of Oregon ash, but they make it out of baseball bats out of white ash because it's so strong. So you can really hear the difference between that and the softwoods. This has such a clear and loud and projecting kind of voice to it, and I really love it. It just feels good to play. So I don't know if I have a favorite out of all of those. I'm partial to Spanish cedar because I love the way it smells. And the Douglas fir is really cool. I love those Douglas fir, but they're all beautiful. Let me know in the comments if you heard one that you like the sound of better. I really always love to hear people's feedback about if they really hear one that resonates with them, if they like a certain wood more. I'd love to hear your comments. Alright, links to all of these in the description. Feel free to click through and see pictures of them and read more about them and buy them if you like them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.